let's start with, week one, right? The Detroit Lions on the road for the Philadelphia Eagles. What's your thoughts on that matchup?
I know Jody Mac is laying the points. I know that he's convinced it's going to be a blowout victory, double digits. I'm not so sure. I mean, I like what Detroit is building. They covered, I think, the spread for most of the games last year. They were in a lot of games. They didn't put a lot of W's on the board, but they have that competitiveness. They improved their roster. I think the Lions are going to take a step forward. It might not show up in the win column, but they're going to be a better team. I think the Eagles do pull out this game on the road week one. I don't think it's going to be easy.
Eagles fans, you are tuned in to Birds 365. He's Rick Serritella. I'm Tone DeShields II. We are filling in for John McMullen, who's covering training camp right now for JAKIB Sports and the Philadelphia Eagles. And we're also filling in for Jody Mac. Jody Mac has some other obligations that he needed to attend to, and we're going to do our best to give you guys our best impression of the Birds 365 guys. So, as we wait patiently for Dan Cilio, again, you guys, he's in California time, man. I don't want to put too much pressure on that guy. You know what I mean? He does a lot for us. But, as we wait for Dan Cilio, and that's if he's able to make it through.
He's got his stateside vodka glass. He's having a little screwdriver maybe before the show.
Exactly. Shout out to Dan Cilio, man. We're trying to pull some things behind the scenes. Dan's on a whole other time zone, you guys. When he does his 3 p.m. show Eastern time, it's like 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock where he is. So let's give him a break, and we'll try to hold you guys down with some more content.
He's out in sunny San Diego, I believe, though, so it ain't too bad. I mean, I'm gonna have to hit him up. I get out to San Diego; it's a fun little city. Before we dive into this next segment, too, I mean,
for sure,
you got props from me before we hit the air. You got props from Johnny Mac while we're on the air. Now you're getting props in the chat room. Like, tell the people at home how far ahead of the curve you are with the Hurts season hat.
Oh man, so it's so funny you brought it up, Rick, because my shout out to first things first. Shout out to my man Lord Brunson. Any Eagles fan in the city of Philadelphia or all over the world, if you're locked in on the Philadelphia Eagles, 9 times out of 10 you're locked in on Lord Brunson. And Lord Brunson has been covering the Philadelphia Eagles for the past 4 or 5 years, something like that. And he's just been constantly grinding, and he's one of the most respected content creators when it comes to this Philadelphia Eagles thing, and he has merch. So he came up with this merch. The moment Hurts became the starting quarterback, he came up with this merch line, in full support of Jalen Hurts. The Hurts season hats. He has snapbacks. He has the dad hats. He has the bucket hats. White letters, green letters. He has whatever you need. He has it. Also shout out to the print champs in Maryland. He goes through those guys. He goes through those guys. And if you want your official Hurt season hats, hit up my man Lord Brunson on Twitter. Whatever you got to do, the links are in his bio. Man, like the moment AJ Brown wore this hat, it went mainstream all over the place. Everyone's screaming Hurt season, and I've been ahead of this curve since the beginning of last season. So the real Eagles fans know. So shout out to my man Lord Brunson once again, man. Lord Brunson,
big shout out,
Brunson, man.
And if he's listening, Lord, we need a clothing sponsor for the football playbook. Feel free to send the merch over here to the Jersey Shore, brother.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Shout out to Lord Brunson once again. So, Rick, let's discuss this schedule because, again, I personally feel that as favorable as this Eagles schedule is, there are some games that are potential trap games. I know some people don't really like to buy into that philosophy, but sometimes it is what it is. There are some games that you go into that you're supposed to win, but sometimes you just can't get it done. So we have time. We have about 30 minutes left in the show, man, and let's try to get through as much of the schedule as we possibly can, and then give some insights. So. Let's start with, week one, right? The Detroit Lions on the road for the Philadelphia Eagles. What's your thoughts on that matchup?
I know Jody Mac is laying the points. I know that he's convinced it's going to be a blowout victory, double digits. I'm not so sure. I mean, I like what Detroit is building. They covered, I think, the spread for most of the games last year. They were in a lot of games. They didn't put a lot of W's on the board, but they have that competitiveness. They improved their roster. I think the Lions are going to take a step forward. It might not show up in the win column, but they're going to be a better team. I think the Eagles do pull out this game on the road week 1. I don't think it's going to be easy, and I don't know. I'm sure there's a line out there. I'm guessing it might be somewhere around 4.5. I mean, I don't think the Eagles win this game by more than 6 points. I think it's going to be something like 24-20 Eagles victory.
Yeah, I'm actually with you on that. I think this game is something not to take lightly. We smacked Detroit last season, so they're definitely coming for revenge. And that Detroit team, like you said, Dan Campbell was building something over there. Those players are buying into whatever he's selling. And I've just been watching some of their training camp footage, and I don't know. There's something brewing in Detroit. I love what they're doing on offense. I love their weapons, right? Jamison Williams, DJ Chark. I forget who else they have over there. They have TJ Hawkinson, right, at tight end.
I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, yes, someone who had a really good season.
DeAndre Swift,
good guy.
Yeah.
Yes. And don't they have Damian Williams or something like that? Or am I wrong?
I don't know if they picked up Damian Williams, but they have some playmakers there. St. Brown is a guy to watch. But yeah, I think Detroit, and aren't they also on Hard Knocks this year? I think
that's are.
Gonna be fun. That's going to be fun.
They are. Buckle up. So yep. I'm sorry. They have Jamal Williams, not Damian Williams.
Okay.
Jamal Williams. Yeah. So
that's a nice ad, though. That's a great. Yeah. That's a great pickup.
Definitely. And then on top of that, they brought in Aiden Hutchinson. On the D line. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the Philadelphia Eagles fare week 1 with this new roster. Of course, we're going to see some growing pains. That's most definitely to be expected. I think week 1 is always an ugly week for teams. Is either you see a lot of blowouts or you see a lot of ugly games. And I think this is going to be one of those ugly games. I think the Eagles do pull out the victory, but I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a little bit higher scoring than that. I think the score may be, because the spread is only like 3.5. I think right now. So. I got the Eagles winning that game 27-24, something like that. I just expect some growing pains in that defense and guys just trying to get things in order. And sometimes the offense is always a little ahead of the defense anyway.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you see breakdowns in that week 1. So, I mean, I'm looking at week 2. I think could also be very high scoring. Minnesota, Monday Night Football. To me, this is another W. Kirk Cousins has always been fugazi in my book. I don't really see him as a top signal caller. And, I'll never bet on Kirk Cousins, actually, to be honest with you.
He's productive, but can't get it done when it matters, right?
Yeah, no, I don't like that.
So I assume you see that as a win for us.
I do. I see the Vikings game at home, Monday Night Football. Lincoln Financial is going to be rocking. I think that's Eagles all the way for me.
I agree with you, man. And it's going to be interesting to see the storylines. When Justin Jefferson comes to the city. I think this is his first time playing in Philadelphia since he's been drafted. So all eyes are going to be on him. All eyes are going to be on Jalen Reagor and that wide receiver core. It's going to be interesting to say the least. So the Eagles need to have a win, and it'll be even better if Darius Slay and or Bradbury can shut down Justin Jefferson. Not sure how likely it is, because guys like that they get their numbers. You just got to make it hard. But that's going to be an interesting game to watch. I have that as a win as well. So far we have the Eagles 2-0. Let's transition to week 3. This is where things get interesting for me. The Washington Commanders on the road. Philadelphia Eagles go to FedEx Field, that dumpster, and we have to play Carson Wentz and those guys. And that defense is going to be healthy this go around. You're not going to see as many COVID-related situations like we did last season with those guys. I'll be honest. I have us losing week 3 in a row. It's something about that matchup at that time. I think we start the season 2-1.
I'm going to agree with you, because I think they're going to sweep the Giants if Daniel Jones is the quarterback. I think they're going to split with the Cowboys, and I think ultimately they do split with the Commanders. So, this is the first division game on the road at Washington. I will say Daniel Snyder, 11-hour testimony in front of Congress. Oh, by the way, yesterday or 2 days
I
ago.
heard about that, man.
What comes out of that remains to be seen. Is there going to be a bunch of turmoil and headlines come week 3 when they go to Washington? That might be an X factor to keep an eye on. But as we sit here today, I mean, I think they're going to split with Washington. So I'll split up the home games. I say the Eagles win later on in the year at home. I think they lose on the road at Washington and sitting at 2-1. I agree with you, Tom.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's jump down to week 4. Jacksonville.
Trap.
We have them at home. That's a trap.
Yeah.
That's a trap. I think I still have us winning that game though. But it's one of those games that if someone wakes up on the wrong side of the bed at any point, that game can really just get out of hand. I don't think Jacksonville is going to blow us out, but I think that's a game that we have to pay close attention to. Dougie P makes his return to Philadelphia. He's going to get cheers for bringing that Super Bowl home, and it's going to be interesting to see the leap that Trevor Lawrence makes. I have that as a win, but it's going to be it's a flimsy win. It's a fluky win, if you ask me.
It's a coin toss game because this is Doug Peterson's Super Bowl. All right, this team ain't making the playoffs. This is probably if there's one game he has circled on the schedule, this is it, right? And so,
of course,
I do think Trevor Lawrence is going to continue to improve, and I do think that Peterson's aggressive play style will bode well for Trevor Lawrence, and that could be a game. Hey, I could see in the fourth quarter, Jaguars on the game-winning drive. Peterson goes for it on 4th down. Maybe they eke out a field goal. I mean, this game could go either way. I'll give the Eagles the benefit of the doubt here at home, but man, this is not.
And I'll be honest, that's the only reason. I'm really, because they're at home, and I think they have more talent overall. But it's really that home factor for me. But Dougie P, he's at home. You know what I mean? So he's, how much of an advantage is it, right? So we both have those guys. Both have the Eagles winning that game. That's a 3-1 start. Not bad. I think that's realistic. Now, week 5 on the road in Arizona. I know D-Hop is going to be suspended, but we don't really fare well in the desert, and I'm going to have to give that a loss as well.
I have on paper a loss, and I just told you how much better Jalen Hurts was than Kyler Murray. Right?
Hey, look, he might outplay him, but the defense may give something up. You know what I mean?
To your question earlier, does Jalen Hurts have to be the best quarterback in the East to win the division? No. And here's the deal. Anytime you go cross country, whether it's Arizona to Philly or Philly to the desert, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough road trip. So that alone makes it a difficult game to win. Now, Arizona has a history of coming out the gates like gangbusters, playing really well in the early parts of the season. Then they fade down the stretch. And if history tells us anything, well, this is going to be a tough game. Again, probably a shootout, right? And I'm gonna have to say the Eagles lose here, which what are we putting them at? 3-2 through the first 5 games.
Yep, 3-2. Yeah, last time we played Arizona, it was a shootout between Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts had one of his most electric games in the air. He was just slinging it, and he had that will to win. But I think that's a loss. Unfortunately, I just think that Arizona, on the road, it's we're really going to have to really bring our A game to win in that environment. Let's go to week 6, Dallas. Now, this is where I'm always I'm fickle, because I would love for us to beat Dallas on Christmas Eve. I would love that, but on the road, Christmas Eve, I don't know. So week 6 at home, Dallas, I think that's a win for us because we're at home. And I think we're going to come out with something to prove on that day. What's your thoughts on week 6 Dallas matchup?
No, I agree with you. Like I said, I think they split. I'll give the Eagles the home game again on prime time, which is a big theme for the Eagles. 5 games on prime time, almost one third of their games on prime time, and this is going to be a Sunday night game in Philly. I think the Eagles get the job done here going into the bye week. Oh, by the way, which would put them, listen, I've always loved to have the bye week later on in the season.
I was actually going to ask you about that. The bye week that early.
Yeah.
it makes me uncomfortable.
Yes. Because I mean, then you have a gauntlet. Uh, uh, and actually, coming out of the bye week, I've always preferred the bye week later on, especially for the veterans. But coming out of the bye week, it's almost like two more bye weeks because Pittsburgh's always going to be competitive, but then they play the Texans, who should also be more competitive. But I don't see the Steelers or the Texans as playoff teams. So at least coming out of the bye week, I mean, I see two quick, and I'll even throw, then they got Washington coming up again at home. I see them winning all three of those games coming out of the bye
Agreed.
week,
Agreed. Yeah.
which would put them
I'm
at
with you on
what,
that.
7-2 now.
Yeah. Yep. That would put you on Sakia because you go into the bye 4-2, losing to Arizona and Washington. Then you come out of the bye with so that's 7-2. Pittsburgh, Houston, Washington. Because I had them beating Washington at home. Houston. We have Houston on the road. That's an interesting game as well. I'm not saying Houston is that good, but you're on the road. You don't want to get too caught up in the madness. Go in and get the job done and get out of there. You know what I mean? You don't want to. At certain teams, you don't want them. You don't want to allow them to hang around. When you have them, when you have your foot on their neck, you have to kill that demon. You don't want that to come back and bite you in your sleep. So yeah, I anticipate victories and beating Pittsburgh, Houston, Washington. Pittsburgh's going to play us tough, like you said. That defense is still what it is, but their offensive line is horrendous, and I think we harass whoever that quarterback is, Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky. Rest in peace to Dwayne Haskins. It's something to keep an eye out for. But overall, yeah, I anticipate 3 wins: Week 8, Week 9, Week 10 against Pittsburgh, Houston, and Washington. Now, this is where things get tricky. Week 11. If I'm being honest with you, I have us losing in Indy on the road. And even beyond that, I have us losing to Green Bay at home. I think we suffer our first 2-game loser streak at that moment. Um, I think we get fat over those first. I think we get fat out of the bye week off those 3 wins, and then we get humbled in Indy, and we get humbled by Green Bay. What do you think?
No, I have 2 L's on paper because I mean that's what we're doing. We're looking at it on paper, and those
On
are
paper,
two
right?
right, and those
Yeah,
are two rosters that you got to say as we sit here today. Not only do both of those teams have a better quarterback, you can argue they might have equal talent throughout their roster, especially the Colts. I mean, the Colts are maybe the equivalent of what the Eagles are in the AFC. Like, I mean, the year that Andrew Luck had to suddenly retire, I had the Colts pegged for the Super Bowl that year. And then it's just been a kind of a QB carousel, over the last several years trying to get it right. Is Matt Ryan now the guy? That remains to be seen. I think he can be. He might have lost a few miles per hour off of the fastball, but we've talked about the presidential presence that he brings to that organization. And I do think he might be a slight step above a Philip Rivers at this stage of his career when Rivers went to the Colts. So
yeah.
I like Indianapolis. I think they're a dark horse in the AFC. I mean, you talked about the gauntlet of quarterbacks, especially in the AFC West. I think the Colts win that division there in the South. And then you mentioned the Green Bay Packers again.
That defense, man. That
We
defense
just
is legit.
mentioned. Yeah, and I think the matchup to keep an eye on here is going to be Bradbury versus Lazard.
Interesting.
Two big-bodied guys. Lazard is to me. If you're a fantasy football player out there, man, I want some of that Allen Lazard timeshare because this guy had 8 touchdowns a year ago as the number 2 or number 3. Does anybody know who's going to be the number 1 receiver on the Packers? I don't think anybody knows for sure. My
I
money's
don't
on
know.
Lazard.
Sammy Watkins, maybe. I don't know. Like, not even.
Yeah. I'll put my money on Lazard. In fact, I think Rodgers had a funny quote the other day going from Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer. But
yeah, because was it Devontae over at over in Las Vegas? He said going from Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer, but Derek Carr. That was comedy, by the way. But
yeah, and then we can't forget about Christian Watson, this rookie out of North Dakota State.
I liked him. I liked him.
I mean, he might be a one-trick pony, which is straight line speed, but we talked about it on Wednesday. So you can't teach speed, and that's a nice trick to have up your sleeve. I think that could lead to some big plays. He might not be a consistent name you hear like on a week in and week out, basis in Green Bay, but I think Christian Watson makes some big time plays this year.
Yeah, he's a big body man, and if he can get polished as a route runner, Christian Watson can be dangerous, very dangerous. A big body, a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's he's going to find you. He finds you no matter how big you are, but he's going to find you, and he's going to throw those back shoulder throws to Christian Watson. He's going to get him every single time. Let's take it a step further. So right now we have the Eagles at what is that 7-4, I believe it is.
So,
7-4. Yeah, I think that's 7-4. Let me count those losses. One, two.
Yep,
Yeah, that's
7-4
Okay, so 7-4.
with Tennessee.
Now Tennessee, I think that's a win. We're at home. They've lost AJ Brown. They've lost Julio Jones. This may be a hot take. I think Derek. I think we start to see the deterioration of the running back Derrick Henry. Now I don't, and this is why I say this. He's been an Iron Man for the majority of his career, and last season we saw the chink in the armor. He has been the engine of that offense for the past few years, and the reason I think we start to see the deterioration because they lost AJ Brown, they lost Julio Jones, they have this rookie in Treylon Burks. They're going to put a lot of pressure on. Their offense is going to run through Derrick Henry. That's just an absolute fact, and they're going to run him to the ground if you ask me. And based off when we play them, Week 13, who knows if he'll even be available? So that's my temperament in that regard. I have us beating Tennessee, so that puts us at 8-4. I have us beating New York and Chicago, so that's 10-4 right there. What's your thoughts on all that?
I agree with the 3 W's in a row there. In terms of Derrick Henry, it's interesting because you can go back to Adrian Peterson, who Jamal Lewis, who's the other one? I mean, after you run CJ2K, I mean, all these guys that ran for 2,000 yards, they never seem to. They seem to not have much gas left in the tank after that. They're all their careers took a downward spiral, and I'm not sure that coming off that injury, I don't want to say that it's the start of his downfall, but to your point, yeah, they're a lot more one dimensional. They don't have those wide receivers anymore, and Tannehill took a step backwards. I mean, he was not the Ryan Tannehill that we saw the previous 2 years, and so. I hate to say it, but yeah, Henry, they're gonna stack the box against that team and try to let Ryan Tannehill beat you. By the way, Treylon Burks, who failed his conditioning test and blamed it on asthma. Come on, bro. Like you've had asthma your whole life. All of a sudden, it's an issue. To me, Kenny Phillips, that 4th round pick out of UCLA. I said this come draft time. I got another hot take for you. Kenny Phillips is the best rookie wide receiver on that Tennessee Titans squad, not Treylon Burks. Kenny Phillips, arguably the best route runner coming out of this year's draft. In fact, I studied all of his film, and even at the East-West Shrine Bowl, this was the most unguardable wide receiver, and it's all about footwork. If you look at Hunter Renfrow, nobody expected that, right? Just remember, Kenny Phillips – that's a name to keep a lookout for. But I agree with you. I think they catch W's against Tennessee, the G-men on the road up I-95, and at Chicago on the road. Just because at that point, and I like the flashes I saw from Justin Fields, but by week 15, he's either going to be battered and bruised and busted up, or his confidence level is going to be so shot from running for his life because that O-line, talk about a atrocious offensive line. You need a team that might want to trade for Dillard. Chicago Bears might be wanting to make a phone call there. So I agree with you. I think after the 2 back-to-back losses, they rally it up and rattle off three W's.
Yeah, for sure. We're almost running out of time here on the show. Let's just try to get through this really quickly. Week 16, 17, and 18. I have us losing to Dallas on Christmas Eve. I have us beating New Orleans at home because we just seem to have their number right now. Jalen Hurts seems to have their number right now. And then we beat the G-men in Week 18. That's my call. Lose, win. We finish the season 12-5. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that The Saints is the one game I go back and forth on where, again, I think it's a coin toss
Understandable
game,
too. Understandable.
right? Yeah, I think that can go either way. And I think they lose at Dallas. I think they sweep the G-Men. And that New Orleans game, I think if they do lose it, they could see them on the come around in the playoffs. And I think that's when they beat the Saints.
Get them. That's where they get them. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that.
We're rubbing the crystal balls over here, looking into the future.
Most definitely. Hey, you guys, we're going to take our final break of the show, and I'm going to try my best to do my one and only Jody Mac impression. We're going to put a bow on the show, you guys. Keep it locked, and don't change that dial. You're tuned in to Birds 365. He's Rick Serritella. I'm Tony DeShields II. Let's get it.